My father and I weren't close. We talked maybe 5 times a year. Birthdays, Christmas, the occasional call when one of us felt guilty enough. When he died last February, he left me one thing: a wooden box with my name on it. Inside was a key, a notebook full of his handwriting, and a warning: do not use the key. Do not trust anyone in Harlow County who knew my name. I didn't understand any of it at first, but the more I read, the more I realized my father hadn't been distant because he didn't love me. He had been distant because he was trying to protect me. And now that he's gone, whatever he was hiding from has found me instead. Last week I got a photograph in the mail of me walking to my car, taken without me knowing. 3 words written on the back: "We found you. My name is Daniel. I'm 34 years old. I work as a high school history teacher in a small town in Ohio. I'm telling you this because what I'm about to share has nothing to do with the kind of person I am. I'm not someone who looks for trouble. I'm not someone who believes in things he can't explain. Or at least I wasn't. My father's name was Robert Marsh. He died in February of last year. Pancreatic cancer. Fast and brutal the way that kind always is. 6 weeks from diagnosis to funeral. We weren't close. I want to be honest about that. My parents divorced when I was 9. My dad moved 2 states away when I was 12. We talked on the phone, maybe 4 or 5 times a year. Birthdays, Christmas, the occasional Sunday when one of us felt guilty enough to call. When he got sick, my sister Karen flew out to stay with him. She's 3 years older than me, always was the responsible one. She handled the hospital visits, the paperwork, the calls to relatives I barely remembered. I drove out for the last week, sat with him when he couldn't talk anymore, held his hand at the end. That's about all I could give him by then. 2 weeks after the funeral, Karen called me, said our dad had left something for me specifically, not in the will, nothing official, just a wooden box he had kept in the back of his bedroom closet, with my name written on a piece of tape stuck to the lid. Daniel, just that. She mailed it to me. It arrived on a Thursday. Sitting on my doorstep when I got home from work, a plain brown box inside the courier packaging, and inside that a wooden box about the size of a shoebox. Dark wood, old-looking, brass latch on the front. My name on the tape, just like Karen had said. I put on the kitchen table and looked at it for a while, made dinner, watched some television, came back to around 10 that night. I don't know why I waited. Some instinct, maybe. The feeling you get before opening something you can't unopened. I unlatched it and lifted the lid. Inside was a collection of things. Loose photographs at the top, a small leather notebook underneath, some folded papers held together with a rubber band, and at the very bottom wrapped in a cloth. Something I couldn't identify at first. I went through the photographs first. Most of them were of me and Karen as kids. Birthday parties, Christmas mornings, a camping trip I barely remembered, normal family photos, the kind you find in every parent's drawer. But mixed in with the family photos were others, ones I didn't recognize, images of places, an old farmhouse somewhere rural, a dirt road cutting through flat empty fields, a wooden structure in a clearing that I couldn't identify, a group of people standing together in what looked like a field at night. The photo was dark and grainy. I couldn't make out the faces clearly, but I counted at least 15 people, all standing very close together, all facing the same direction. I set those photos aside and picked up the notebook. My father's handwriting inside, smaller and more cramped than I remembered it, like he had been trying to fit a lot onto every page. The first entry was dated 22 years ago. I was 12 when he wrote it, the year he moved away. It started simply enough. He wrote about a man he had met, a man named Gerald Holt, 60-something, retired farmer. My father had met him at a bar in the town he had moved to. They had gotten talking, become friends of a sort. The early entries were just observations, notes about Gerald, things he had said over drinks, stories about the land he used to farm, about the community he had been part of for most of his life. My father wrote that Gerald seemed like a good man, honest, hard-working, a little lonely since his wife had passed. The entries from 6 months later had a different tone, more uncertain. My father wrote that Gerald had started telling him things about the community he used to belong to, things that didn't sit right. He wrote that Gerald had described gatherings, regular ones, out on the old farmland east of town. After dark, groups of people, always the same people, always the same place. He wrote that Gerald wouldn't say exactly what happened at these gatherings, just that something was asked of the members, something that couldn't be taken back once you gave it. I put the notebook down, looked at the photos again, the group of people in the dark field, facing the same direction. I picked up the cloth-wrapped object from the bottom of the box, unwrapped it slowly. It was a key, old and heavy, the kind that opens a deadbolt or a padlock. A small tag attached to it with a piece of string. 3 words written on the tag in my father's handwriting. Do not use. I put the key down on the table, sat back, and looked at everything spread out in front of me. The photographs, the notebook, the folded papers I still hadn't opened. That key with its 3-word warning. I picked up the notebook again and kept reading. My father wrote that Gerald Holt had started pulling back from their friendship around the 8-month mark. Fewer drinks at the bar, shorter conversations, the sense that he was regretting how much he had already shared. Then one evening, Gerald showed up at my father's door unannounced, stood on the porch with his hat in his hands, said he needed to give him something, said he had been holding on to it for too long, said it wasn't safe for him to keep it anymore. He handed my father a key, the same key now sitting on my kitchen table. Gerald told him it opened a lock on the property east of town, the land where the gatherings had been held. He said there was something buried there, in a room beneath the old equipment shed. He said he didn't know exactly what it was, only that the people who ran the gatherings had put it there years ago, and that whatever it was the reason people kept coming back. My father asked him why he was giving it to him. Why not just throw it away? Why not destroy it? Gerald said he had tried that, said he had thrown the key into the river once, found it on his kitchen counter the next morning, tried burning it, found it in his coat pocket 2 days later, said the key didn't stay gone, said the only way to be free of it was to pass it to someone who didn't know what it opened, someone outside the community, someone clean. My father wrote that he had tried to laugh it off, tried to tell himself Gerald was a lonely old man with too much time and too much whiskey. But he kept the key, and he kept writing. The entries over the following year described small things at first. Sounds outside his house at night. A car parked across the street that was always gone by morning. The feeling of being watched when he walked home from work. Then larger things. His name mentioned in a conversation he overheard at the grocery store between 2 people he had never seen before. 2 people who stopped talking immediately when they noticed him. A photograph slipped under his front door. No note, just a photograph of my father walking to his car. Taken recently. Taken without him knowing. He wrote that he had gone to the police, spoken to a detective named Paul Greer, shown him the photograph, told him about Gerald, about the key, about the gatherings. Detective Greer had listened carefully, taken notes, said he would look into it. My father wrote that Greer had called him back 3 days later, said he had spoken to some people in the community east of town, said they were good people, farmers mostly. Nothing unusual about their gatherings, just a social group, nothing to worry about. My father wrote one line after that. Greer was at the gathering in the photograph, third from the left. The entries after that became shorter, more fragmented, dates further apart. He wrote that Gerald Holt had died. Heart attack. Sudden. His farm had been sold within a week of the funeral. New owners moved it immediately, like it had been arranged in advance. He wrote that he had stopped going out after dark, had asked to be transferred to a different branch at work, a town further away. The last entry in the notebook was dated 11 years ago. One paragraph. He wrote that the key had been quiet for a long time, that he thought maybe they had forgotten about him, that he hoped passing it on would be enough, that he was sorry, that he loved Karen and Daniel very much, that he hoped Daniel would understand someday why he had stayed away, that staying away had been the only protection he knew how to give. I sat at that kitchen table until 2 a.m. Then I picked up the folded papers I still hadn't opened, unfolded them carefully. Inside was a hand-drawn map, roads and landmarks sketched in pencil, a property marked with a small cross, east of a town I recognized as the one my father had lived in, and beneath the map a single type page. One sentence. If you are reading this, then I ran out of time before I could destroy it properly. I am sorry, Daniel. Do not go to that property. Do not use the key. And do not trust anyone in Harlow County who knew my name. I folded everything back up, put all back in the wooden box, closed the latch. I put the box in the back of my closet, told myself I was going to leave it there, that I was going to take my father's advice for once in my life. That was 8 months ago. Last week I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Postmarked from a town in Ohio I didn't recognize. Inside was a photograph. Me, walking to my car. Taken recently. Taken without me knowing. And on the back, 3 words. In handwriting I didn't recognize. We found you.